Expensive Life Solutions. So I be up on this Diddy case or whatever. This is so crazy, and so it's surprising, just how you can just see somebody and then what goes on in closed doors with a person. Because I would never just, I just never thought that. I guess I don't be in their business because I don't care. But let me replace this. So this is Will Smith, and it was just, how something can hunt somebody so much, and then they just be like, okay, well, I just give up. I give up. So and then after I play this video, we're gonna just do a little of this video or whatever. Just kind of listen.
Only. This is the verbatim federal courtroom testimony of the Sean Diddy Combs trial as reported by Inner City Press. Nobody expected him. The room was tense, eyes focused on the next witness, until the back doors opened and in walked Will Smith. Gasps echoed. Even the judge froze. No announcement, no pre-written statement, just Will stepping forward on his own. Until that moment, he had stayed silent as his name swirled through headlines, court leaks, and whispered audio recordings said to be too disturbing to release. But something had changed. Maybe it was the rumors. Maybe it was the betrayal from people he once trusted. Maybe it was hearing that tape played behind closed doors. Whatever it was, Will was done hiding. He wasn't on the stand as a celebrity. He was there as a man who'd seen too much and said too little. And when he began to speak, the courtroom wasn't prepared for what they would hear. Because what Will revealed about Diddy, the parties, the manipulation, and the fear wasn't just explosive, it was a warning. It started like any other day of the Diddy trial. The room buzzed with low conversations, the press hunched in their designated rows, and lawyers whispered strategies as they waited for the next scheduled witness. But when the side doors opened and Will Smith stepped into the courtroom alone, no entourage, no legal team, no announcement, the room changed. You could hear a pin drop. Some people thought it was a mistake. Others thought it was a stunt. But the way Will walked, slow, focused, with that old Fresh Prince stoicism, melted away into something more raw, told everyone this was real. The judge raised an eyebrow, and Diddy, who'd been smugly lounging at the defense table, suddenly looked tense. Will walked straight to the witness stand. No eye contact with anyone. He didn't even glance at Diddy. "I wasn't asked to come here today," Will began. "I asked if I could speak." The judge allowed it. And from that moment on, the entire trial shifted. Because what Will Smith was about to say wasn't part of any media narrative. It wasn't a social media leak. It was something that had haunted him for years. Something that began at a party no one was supposed to talk about. "I've kept a lot inside for a long time," he said. "I've laughed on red carpets. I've won awards. I've made movies about honor and strength. But none of that can hide what I saw, what I experienced, and who made it happen." He turned just slightly toward Diddy. "You did." Will Smith told the courtroom that it started like many Hollywood stories do, with an invitation. It came through a mutual contact, someone I'd worked with before. The way they framed it, it was supposed to be a celebration. Diddy's birthday. Nothing wild, just music, networking, a place where stars could unwind. I'd been to things like that before, so I didn't question it. But the moment Will arrived, he knew something was off. It was at this massive mansion in the hills. Black SUVs at the front, security everywhere. The second I stepped inside, my phone was taken. That should have been the first red flag.
Okay, on that part, why should your phone, if you at a party, if I have a party and invite people to a party, a gathering, whatever you want to call it, I'm not gonna ask nobody for their phone. For what? That's a red flag right there. I would turn around.
They
'Cause I
said
need my
it was
phone
for
to.
privacy, to protect the guests. But it felt like something else, like they didn't want anything getting out. He was ushered inside. The lights were dim, the music low and strange, ambient, rhythmic, almost hypnotic. There were no cameras you could see, but there were mirrors everywhere. It felt like someone was always watching. Will said that after a few drinks and some casual conversation, Diddy approached him directly. He said something like, "Now you're part of the family." And he smiled. That smile, it wasn't warmth, it was ownership. Will said he followed Diddy into a back room, thinking they were going to talk business. Instead, what he saw shook him to the core. There were people performing, men, women. Some I recognized from film and music. Some looked young, too young. There were others watching, like it was entertainment. And Diddy? He was laughing.
Mm-mm. That means he didn't care who entered the party. That's when you have mm-mm, mm-mm, people of power trying to cover up things in this nature like this. That's ridiculous. You understand that? That's ridiculous. Like, you have grown folk and they enter into the room and they was probably already doing stuff. And then so I feel that, you know how some of the people that wasn't old enough, they was bribed by money. They was bribed by money. Yes.
Like it was the most normal thing in the world. He paused, swallowing hard. I didn't know how to leave, and that was the point. Once you're in, you're in. Will continued, his voice steady but hollow. A few days after the party, I got a call, blocked number. All the voice said was, "Hope you had fun, Fresh Prince." Then they hung up. He thought it was just a weird prank until an envelope arrived at his office. It was unmarked. Inside,
That's like a horror movie. That is like a horror movie. Somebody call you a block number and say, "I hope you had fun, Fresh Prince." That's like a horror movie. And you live in a horror movie in real times. That's crazy.
it was a flash drive. I almost didn't look, but I did. It was footage from that night of me sitting on a couch, clearly out of it. I don't remember being that out of it, but there I was, laughing at something I couldn't even remember. There was a voice behind the camera, Diddy's voice, saying, "That's how we keep 'em." Will testified that the fear he felt in that moment was unlike anything he'd ever experienced. I realized I wasn't invited to that party. I was initiated. He said that's when the manipulation began. I'd get invites to more parties. I declined. Then suddenly, movie roles I was in talks for, gone. People I worked with for years stopped calling. Rumors started online that I was gay, that I was unstable, that I was cheating. I knew what it was. It was pressure. Diddy didn't need to say it. He just made it clear that silence was the cost of peace. And so, for years, Will said nothing. He smiled through interviews, brushed off rumors, focused on work. But every time I saw a news story about someone else speaking out, Cassie, Don Richard, even Meek Mill's name being dragged into this, I thought, if they're speaking, why am I still quiet? He looked around the courtroom. Diddy didn't just ruin people's careers. He made them fear telling the truth. And that, Will said, was what finally brought him to court. Will paused, glanced at the jury, and leaned closer to the mic. It wasn't just a video. That was the leash. He said from that moment on, everything he did felt like it had strings attached to it. He explained that calls would come through his agent, invitations to events, meetings, projects. When he said no, things would shift behind the scenes. I'd say no to a Diddy event, and the next week I'd find out a greenlit project suddenly wasn't greenlit anymore. He said this didn't happen once or twice. It became a pattern. Diddy didn't have to threaten people. He had systems that did it for him.
Mm.
PR people, bloggers, producers. He knew who to call. He knew how to make problems appear out of thin air and how to make opportunities vanish just as fast. Will testified about one specific instance in 2013 when he had been lined up for a major international campaign with a top luxury brand. We were in final negotiation. I'd already shot the first lookbook. Then, out of nowhere, they dropped me. I never got a reason. But 2 weeks later, I was invited to another Diddy event. When I declined again, the phone calls started. Rumors, gossip blogs, posting stories about me that were oddly specific. Stuff only someone with access could have planted. He said it was psychological warfare. You start to feel like you're crazy, like you're paranoid. But then you see it, the patterns, the punishments. You realize you're not imagining it. You're being boxed in. Will told the court he knew other celebrities going through similar things. Some of them are sitting silent right now. Some of them have contracts that won't let them speak. Some of them are scared they'll be exposed the same way. Then he turned toward Diddy and said plainly, "You didn't just collect people, you controlled them." And everyone knew exactly what he meant. Will didn't stop at the manipulation. He explained how Diddy's grip wasn't just over artists, it stretched into Hollywood's entire foundation. You couldn't walk onto a major stage without brushing shoulders with someone he helped put there. Will said he once attended a charity gala in 2016, where, behind the scenes, high-powered figures from music, film, politics, and tech were all thanking Puff as if he was the glue holding the whole thing together. I watched one executive from a streaming platform hand him a USB drive and whisper, "Only you have the final cut." Will didn't say what was on the drive, but he said it confirmed what he'd feared. Diddy wasn't just networking. He was gatekeeping. He described moments where he saw other actors, rappers, and public figures behave oddly submissive around Diddy, like they were trying to stay in his good graces, laughing too hard, deferring to him in every conversation. I realized a lot of people weren't his friends. They were his survivors. Will testified that one reason he stayed silent so long was
Ouch.
because he thought speaking out would blackball him permanently. But then I realized I'd already been blackballed, quietly. No official blacklist, just whispers, doubt, and doors closing. He said the only reason he stayed relevant at all was because his audience, the public, wouldn't let him disappear. That's the part Puff didn't control, the people. He explained how, over time, he began to see things differently. He started revisiting old footage, photos from events, after parties, press junkets, realizing how often Diddy's influence loomed behind the scenes. He was always there, if not in person, then in power. And then, Will said, came the moment that changed everything. Will's voice dropped to a quieter, deeper tone. I stayed quiet for 20 years. I convinced myself it wasn't happening, or that it wasn't happening to me. But then, the audio started to surface. He said the first time he heard about secret audio tapes being played in court, he didn't believe it. Then I got a call, not from the prosecution, not from a journalist, from someone I used to trust. They said, "Will, you're on one of those tapes. They played it yesterday. People are talking." He described feeling like the floor had dropped from under him. I didn't even know a tape like that existed, but once I accepted it might be real, everything else started to connect. Will said he stayed up all night, replaying memories. The party, the blackout, the envelope, the blocked numbers. It was all a system, and I was one of the victims. He said the breaking point wasn't fear, it was humiliation. I realized that if I didn't speak now, my silence would become my legacy, and I couldn't live with that. My kids are going to see these headlines. My grandkids might see them. I had to speak. He told the court he called the prosecution team himself. I told them, "I'm ready. Whatever you need, whatever questions you have, I'll answer them." He looked at the jury. I wasn't just coerced. I was played. I was filmed. And I was used. Then he looked at Diddy again, this time with a sharper tone. "And you knew exactly what you were doing." Will closed his eyes for a moment before speaking again, as if preparing to relive something he had fought to forget. When the prosecution asked if I wanted to hear the audio, I hesitated, he said, but I knew I had to. They played it behind closed doors. No press, no jury, just the judge, the lawyers, and Will. I heard myself laughing. Will said slowly, "It was hollow. It wasn't real. I sounded drunk. No, drugged." He described the background of the audio. Slow music, low voices, the occasional cheer or shout. Then I heard Diddy, clear as day, saying something like, "That's how we break 'em in." And then I heard my name. They were saying my name while doing things I don't even want to repeat. He said it wasn't just humiliating. It was horrifying. There's a difference between being embarrassed and being stripped of your humanity. That tape, it took something from me. Will's voice cracked for the first time. He looked down, collecting himself, then continued, "I
Oh, it's
never
not like they
consented to
raped
being
him.
recorded. I never agreed to be a part of that. But Diddy recorded it. He kept it, maybe to use, maybe just to have." He explained how, for years, he couldn't figure out why he would feel sudden anxiety when certain names were mentioned. Why he had panic attacks during simple interviews. Now I know. It's because I wasn't crazy. I was remembering something I didn't want to remember. Will said that hearing the audio forced him to confront everything. The manipulation, The grooming, the betrayal from people who stood by and watched. And he said what shook him most wasn't what he heard, it was what I didn't remember. He looked at the jury and said, "If you want to know how powerful Diddy is, ask yourself how someone like me could be
That's
silenced
a
for
whole
20
question.
years and not even realize it." By the time Will's testimony hit the media, it was too late for Hollywood to do damage control. The clips from court were viral before the bailiff could even call reset. Hashtags exploded. Our Will Speaks, our Freak Off tape, our Diddy file. And for the first time, the public saw Will not as a polished A-lister, but as a survivor. Will said, "I knew once I spoke, things would get ugly, but I didn't know how fast." He recounted how within 24 hours of testifying, he lost 2 pending brand endorsements. Another studio halted promotion for a film he had already shot, but he said it didn't matter. "Because I'd already lost something more valuable years ago, my voice." He said the calls started rolling in. Quiet one. Texts from actors, producers, even directors. Some of them thanking him, others warning him. One said, "You don't know who you just declared war on." Another said, "You've made yourself radioactive." Will mentioned a few names without full detail, citing legal reasons, but nodded when the prosecution asked about people like Kevin Hart, Meek Mill, and Lucien Diddy. Others had dirt on him. I know after this,
I stop it when my connection says reconnecting and all that. Okay.
more footage might come out. They'll try to paint me as unstable, as broken. Let them. I'm not here to protect myself anymore. I'm here to protect the truth. He told the court he expected backlash, expected denials, and expected Diddy's legal team to claim he was making it all up. They'll say I'm bitter. They'll say I'm covering something. But I ask you this. If I was lying, why did I wait this long? Why now, when I have more to lose than ever? He ended that part of the testimony with a line that silenced the room. Sometimes the truth comes late, but it still hits like thunder. For his final statement, the judge allowed Will to speak directly to Diddy. He stood from the witness chair, walked a few feet closer, and looked him in the eye. "You built an empire out of manipulation," he began. "You called it success. You called it culture. You called it love. But all you built was fear." Diddy didn't respond. He sat there, motionless, his lawyer whispering in his ear. Will didn't blink. "I saw what you did to those girls. I saw what you did to
Mm.
me. I heard the things you said about me when you thought I wasn't listening. You broke people for sport." Then Will pulled something from his pocket. An old photo. "This was me in 2004, right before the first party. That's the man I used to be." He held it up to the court. "I haven't seen him in years." Will turned to the jury. "If you think this is just about Cassie, or me, or one night in some mansion, you're not seeing the whole picture. This is about a network of power designed to silence truth. And if we don't tear it down, it will keep going." Then he faced Diddy one last time. "You once said nobody parties like Diddy. Well, nobody lies like you either." He walked back to the stand, picked up his things, and exited the courtroom without looking back. And Diddy? He sat there, pale, unblinking, his fingers shaking. Because for the first time in decades, he wasn't the one controlling the room. When Will Smith stepped down from the witness stand, he didn't look like a man who had won anything. He looked like someone who had finally stopped running. The courtroom was still tense, almost unsure how to breathe again. Even the judge looked shaken. Some of the jurors had tears in their eyes. And Diddy, for the first time in the entire trial, looked like he had nothing left to say. Will didn't speak to the press when he exited. He didn't wave, didn't posture. He walked out the front of the courthouse with his head held high, but his shoulders carried the weight of 20 years of trauma. When asked later by reporters if he felt relieved, he reportedly responded, "Relief isn't the right word. It's just finished." But outside the courtroom, the world was only beginning to react. Hollywood went into a quiet panic. Executives canceled meetings. Agencies paused deals. Directors and producers who had once celebrated Will Smith suddenly found their phones ringing with questions. The same people who once said, he's family, were now issuing boilerplate statements of deep concern and commitment to
This make
truth.
me
Behind
think I'm in
closed
this
doors,
mess,
crisis
this junk,
teams were
cause so
activated.
much money out
PR
there.
firms sent internal memos urging
For
clients
real.
to distance
This make
publicly
me
from
think
any
I'm in
past
this junk too.
associations with Mr. Combs. And
All this
while
stuff
many tried to
connected some
pretend
kind
they
of
were
way.
shocked, the
I don't
internet
know.
was already doing what it does best, resurfacing the receipts. Old clips of Diddy brushing shoulders with top tier names, parties where
Make me think
everyone
I'm
looked too
in some
uncomfortable
of
to
this
be
stuff.
just partying,
Somehow I'm
interviews where
connected to some
guests
of this stuff
danced
that they got
around
me in
uncomfortable questions,
because
footage of Will years ago being
you got
interviewed
some of
and
these
visibly
people here in
recoiling when
Dallas that
Diddy's
be
name
at
came
these
up,
the
and
parties.
most painfully, dozens of clips from the Fresh
So
Prince
what
era,
makes you
where
think that?
fans now say
Oh,
Will
I'm gonna
looked
put that
like
all
he
on
was
that little boy.
smiling through something.
Child, please,
Fans
I
weren't
kick
just
your
shocked,
ass.
they were furious. Furious that someone like Will had to carry this alone. Furious that for years
Because
the whispers
it's
were
people
called
here in
conspiracy, and
Dallas
furious that
that
the
goes to these
system had stayed
parties.
quiet for so long.
That
But Will
party.
didn't stay in hiding. The day after his testimony, he posted a single message online. A black and white photo of himself as a young actor in 1993, standing on a film set, smiling into the sun. The caption read,
That's a
he
nice
didn't
picture.
know what was coming, but he made it through. I'm proud of him. No hashtags,
Yeah, I
no
put a lot of
name
stuff on my
drops,
record.
just that. The response was instant. Millions of shares, tens of thousands of comments, celebrities, activists, and everyday people thanking him for his courage. More than anything, survivors of abuse, men especially, flooded the post with their own confession. You gave us a voice, one wrote. If Will can speak, so can we. Meanwhile, back inside the court, Diddy's team scrambled. Rumors swirled that
Why
more
they got the
subpoenas
man
were
looking
going
like
out, not just to musicians and assistants, but to executives at labels,
that?
distribution companies, even media conglomerates. What Will's testimony had done wasn't just personal, it had cracked the dam. And now, the flood was coming. Whispers said more tapes existed, not just audio, but visual footage. Some of them featuring other public figures. The court sealed these for now, but according to insiders, if any of them leaked, it would flip the industry upside down. And Will? He didn't return to work right away. He declined interviews. He canceled appearances, but he wasn't hiding. Insiders say he's been spending time with his kids, focused on rebuilding what matters. One friend told Variety, anonymously, he's healing now. For the first time in years, he's not pretending. Before court adjourned that day, the judge made a statement that caught even the media off guard. What we heard today was not just testimony, it was a reckoning, and this court acknowledges the courage it took to deliver it. The final shot of the day wasn't of Diddy. It wasn't even Will. It was of the jury, sitting motionless, processing everything they'd just heard. And in that silence, one thing was clear. The era of silence was over.
Okay. So I wanted to show you something because this right here you gotta think about it.
Diddy's gonna make a deal. He's gonna get in the middle of this trial. Watch and see what I'm telling you. He's gonna get in the middle of this trial because he can't take it. He can't take sitting right there and hearing all his dirty deeds with Cassie. Somebody eventually that he paid what $30 million to. He's hearing all his deeds in front of him, and he ain't high. He ain't drunk. No more Sakat for him.
Sakak.
Is it Sakat or Sarah?
Sarah.
Both.
Sakaka Sarah.
He gonna break, bro. I'm telling you.
Sakaka Sarah.
We're
Sakaka
gonna end
Sarah.
up asking this defense team, see, can y'all still give me that deal? See, can y'all still give me that deal? Some kind of deal. Diddy's gonna make a deal. He's gonna get in the middle of this trial. Watch and see what I'm telling you. He's gonna get in the middle of this trial because he can't take it. He can't take sitting right there and hearing all his dirty deeds with Cassie. Somebody eventually that he paid what $30 million to. He's hearing all his deeds in front of him, and he ain't high. He ain't drunk. No more Sakak for him. Is it Sakak or Sarak? Which one is it?
Is it start?
Both.
No.
He gonna break, bro. I'm telling you. He gonna end up asking his defense team, see, can y'all still get me that deal?
I believe
See, can
that.
y'all still get me that deal? Some kind of deal. Diddy's gonna make a deal. He's gonna get in the middle of this trial. Watch and see
Okay,
what I'm
so
telling
it
you.
started over. Yes, I believe that. I believe that. I sure do. No, wrong one. I believe that. I believe he gonna crack under pressure. That man gonna crack under pressure. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying. Like some of these people that be going to Diddy parties, this in Dallas, and it's crazy because you can see how this stuff going on. I'm in the storm. They in the storm. Somehow somebody got me mixed up with this junk. I'm serious. Somehow somebody got me mixed up with this junk. And how people on demon time with these folk. Listen, how people on demon time with these folk, and a lot of people mad because I'm not playing into these games with these folk. You know what I'm saying? I'm not playing into the game with these folk, and these folk after money. These folk got the money. They know that man got some money. They don't give a about what I got. I feel they after that money. I'm mixed up in some. It's all crazy stuff, but I'm mixed up in this mix for some reason. My intuition just telling me that I'm mixed up in this crap. I'm mixed up in this crap some kind of way, and it's some bull crap. And you know what? You know what? You know what? I just go back. That's why I say I think, and I had a dream about that I own Diddy house. That house. I had a dream that I owned his house. Do you understand what I'm saying? I had a dream that I owned his house. Somehow, like when I tell you that God be showing me a way of things, I just go back on that. I had a dream. I don't even know that man. I don't even know that man. How would I have a dream about that man? And why would I have a dream about that man? Yes, I'm mixed up in this stuff some kind of way. I'm mixed up. Somebody got me mixed up with this stuff and a whole lot of more stuff. I don't know that man. I don't even know. I don't know no celebrities. I don't know no celebrities. Not a one. But I'm mixed up with celebrities. I say who? I say what? The kids don't like that. I'm, I'm telling you, I'm mixed up with this type of stuff. That's why a lot of people are kind of angry with me because they can't take advantage of getting that money. That's why they angry because they can't get that money and they want that money. That's what they want, that money. They don't give a damn about what I got going on. They want that money. It's money out there. It's money out there to take this little old soldier down, but you ain't gonna take me down. You ain't gonna take me down. I'll take all y'all down before you take me down. You understand that? I'll take all y'all down before you try to take me down. It won't prosper. It won't happen. I rebuke that demon. I rebuke that devil out my life. You understand me? You better understand it. Better look me in my eyes. See my eyes? That means you don't blink when you. That means you don't blink when you see my eyes, right? See, that's how you have to be. With, you have to stand. You have to stand 10 toes down with the devil and tell the devil, "I'm not gonna move. I'm not gonna move. You can't move me like that. Who you is? You can't move me like that. I don't move that easily. I don't move that easily. I don't. I don't move that easily. No, but I'm mixed up in this stuff some kind of way. Some kind of way I'm mixed up in this bull. But you gotta listen. You gotta go head up with the devil. You understand what I'm saying? You gotta look the devil in the eye and say, devil, I'm not gonna move. You better tell the devil I don't move. I don't move for him. I don't work for the devil. I don't work for the devil. Can't get me all up in this dookie loop. Baby oil stuff. The dookie loop, the baby oil stuff. You understand me? Don't play with me. I don't play games, baby. I don't. That's one thing I don't do. I don't play games. hmm I don't care how much power you got. You ain't got power over me. You understand that? You better understand that because if you don't, I'll make you understand.